Joining me now from Gainesville, Georgia, physician, former congressman, and congressional candidate for Georgia's 9th district, Dr. Paul Broun, MD. Doctor, I think we've been had on the whole COVID-19. I've been saying it on this program since the very beginning in March. And you look at the social distancing police, and you look at the protests in Los Angeles and in Chicago and in New York, suddenly the social distancing police aren't yelling at people. I walk into a restaurant without a mask on, they scream at me. Put on a mask. I think we've been had here, and looking at the numbers in Georgia, the mainstream media, hoping and praying that you folks were going to spike in numbers, it never happened.
You got that exactly right. I believe this whole thing is a farce that is being fostered by the swamp, basically, to try to take President Trump out. As a doctor, I was seeing patients in November, December, and January that I'm convinced had the Wuhan flu. And it's absolutely critical that we get our economy going. You have people like Dr. Fauci in Washington who have recommended shutting our economy down. He hasn't taken, obviously, any consideration of people being out of work. He hasn't taken any consideration in businesses going out of businesses, the economic impact of this. But there's also healthcare impacts on this as well. We're going to see many more people that are having problems of relapsing from drug and alcohol abuse. We're going to see, I think, a lot of domestic violence and child abuse, et cetera. So a lot of depressive problems and anxiety problems. I see that all the time as well. So we should never, ever, ever let this happen again. This is the first time we've ever shut down the economy with any kind of pandemic. So you're exactly correct.
Shouldn't leave it to the politicians and some of the, quote, scientists out there. We should leave it to the United States Constitution. Wouldn't that be a crazy thing? And you see the government response. It's almost as bad as the president warned us. You know, the remedy can't be as bad or worse than the illness itself. When we have a federal government and a Congress now apparently led by Nancy Pelosi, both bodies of Congress, I'm saying here, former congressman and doctor, I firmly believe that the federal government's out of control. You look at the spending as a response to COVID-19, and we knew this was going to happen, right? We knew that this PPP money was never going to filter down to the vast majority of businesses. Looked really good on paper, but in effect, it doesn't work. And now they're talking about spending even trillions and trillions of dollars more that we don't have. Washington, D.C. is out of control.
Absolutely, they're out of control. In fact, when I was in Congress, I introduced more targeted spending cuts than any other member of Congress, and I'll do that when I go back. I'll retain my 7.5 year seniority, and I'm going to reclaim the gavel of the Investigations Committee on the Science Committee. We've got to know what China was all about, what the World Health Organization was all about. I'm going to investigate Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, the CDC, the NIH, FDA, because I think they're all part of the swamp. We must never, ever let this happen. And I think it's all anti-Trump, and it's got to stop. And people can check me out on my website, which is paulbroun.com, Paulbroun, and they can be a friend on Facebook, which is Paul Broun, Paulbroun. You'll see that I'm saying exactly what you're saying. You're exactly correct. We must never let this happen again, and it shouldn't have happened this time.
Doctor, real quick here, I'm almost out of time, but the congressional seat that you are seeking right now is currently held by Doug Collins, who is seeking the United States Senate. It's a pretty typical district here, I guess, in America. Median income of $56,000. Heavy duty Republicans. So you're in a race against several other Republicans. But you consider yourself a constitutionalist. And from what I read, you carry around in your pocket something that I carry around out here on the set. And it's, you want to hold it up and flash it? There we go. We have our own copies of the United States Constitution. And that's really what every member of Congress should be carrying, right?
That's exactly right. We all swear to uphold and defend the Constitution against enemies, both foreign and domestic. We have a lot of domestic enemies of the Constitution. One of those is Nancy Pelosi, and another is Chuck Schumer. well, the Democrats, by and large, are enemies of the Constitution, as well as we've got a lot of black robe tyrants all over this country sitting on federal benches that are enemies of the Constitution. The American people need to stand up and say, no, we're not going to put up with this anymore. And I'm hoping to spark a revolution at the ballot box by talking to the American people, educating them on what constitutional and limited government's all about. They all claim to be constitutionalists. There are very few in Washington today.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.